morning, everyone, and welcome to our regular monthly meeting for the month of October 2014 of the School Board of Danville Public Schools. We will officially call this meeting to order and ask that the roll be called.
Ms. Bryant? Here. Dr. Campbell?
Present.
Ms. Stones?
Here.
Mr. Gould?
Here.
Mrs. Hall?
Here.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paulanis?
Here. Thank you. And so now, if you will, please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, we have gathered this evening to take actions for the good of all the children of this community. We seek to represent with grace and dignity those who selected us for this task. May our collective efforts be aimed at improving the future of this place, be guided by respect for all, and be blessed with divine wisdom. We pray in the name of the Almighty. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have an agenda before you for your action this evening. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Hall with a second from Dr. Campbell to approve the agenda. Any discussion? And Ms. Jordan, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Stones?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paulanis?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
We now have 3 sets of minutes. The September 4th regular monthly meeting, the September 18th work session, and the September 22nd special meeting. What is your pleasure on the minutes?
Chair, move we approve.
Second.
Thank you very much. Dr. Campbell on the motion and Ms. Dones with the second. Any discussion? Then let's call the roll for that one.
Okay. Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paulanis?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Ms. Stones?
Yes.
Next up will be the consent items, which this month consists of a set of recommendations from the Disciplinary Hearing and Review Panel. 1, 2, 3, 4 cases. Is there any request to pull any of those cases for discussion in closed session?
I would like to pull 002 and 003.
002 and 003.
Mr. Chair, I have another one I would like to pull, but I am not able to log in.
All right.
I'll
Do
look
you
at
have any
yours.
idea if you look at it on my
Yeah.
screen?
It is, and Mrs. Bryant may have already called it out, the 009. Did you call that one?
No.
No, we'll add that to the list. All right, so that's 002, 003, and 009. Anyone want to pull case 007? All right, then we will pull those for closed session discussion. And now the consent approval will be of the single case. What is your pleasure?
Chair, move we approve.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Second.
Second from Ms. Hughes. Any discussion? All right, then please call the roll.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paulanis?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Ms. Stones?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Very well. We now move to the recognitions this evening. The first one is Bullying Prevention Month, October 2014. Before I read the resolution that we passed at our last work session, I will mention that for many years, Bullying Prevention Month has been in the dead of winter and someone at the national level had a great idea to move the month in which this is made prominent to earlier in the school year. So now, on a nationwide basis, October is the month for National Bullying Prevention Month. The following resolution was approved by the board last month. Whereas school bullying has become an increasingly significant problem in the United States and Virginia, causing school absenteeism, mental and physical stress, poor school performance, poor self-esteem, and in some cases, school violence. And whereas almost 30% of the youth in the United States are estimated to be involved in bullying each year, either as a bully or as a victim. And whereas every school day, an estimated 160,000 students in kindergarten through grade 12 miss school due to a fear of being bullied. And whereas bullying can take many forms, including verbal, physical, and most recently in cyberspace, and can happen in many places on and off school grounds. And whereas it is important for Danville parents, students, teachers, and school administrators to be aware of bullying and to encourage discussion of the problem as a school community. And whereas the Danville Public Schools Standards for Student Conduct encourages positive behaviors and the elimination of all bullying behaviors, including cyberbullying. Now therefore be it resolved that the Danville School Board recognizes the month of October 2014 as Bullying Prevention Month, with the intention that the issue of bullying and its prevention be discussed in our schools and classrooms during that time. And it was signed the 18th day of September 2014 by Dr. Osborne and myself. We trust that every school in Danville Public Schools will continue to take appropriate actions to heighten the awareness about the negative effects of bullying and to equip the young people with techniques to avoid bullying and find more positive behaviors. Thank you very much. We now have another recognition this evening, second of three actually, and on this one I'm going to call Mr. Mike Adkins, if he will, to come to the lectern. He has two resolutions relative to School Bus Safety Week.
Thank you, Dr. Polhamus, Dr. Osborne, members of the school board. Every year, National School Bus Safety Week reminds educators, students, parents, and the public about the importance of safety inside and outside of nearly 500,000 yellow school buses that transport children to and from school daily. During the week, safety tips are issued, police awareness is increased, and all student transporters are reminded and introduced to safety programs to increase student, driver, and public awareness of school bus safety. Danville Public Schools utilizes over 50 buses to transport an average of 2,700 students daily. Our buses complete 320 plus routes each day, covering 640,000 miles in a normal school year. Our drivers and staff work tirelessly to provide a safe and secure environment for our children. School buses represent the safest way for children to be transported to and from school and school-related activities. Throughout the year, drivers, parents, and educators must partner together to keep the children safe on the bus. It's an important job. National School Bus Safety Week provides the perfect opportunity to work together and teach all students the safety rules they should follow when traveling to and from school. Danville Public Schools recognize the efforts of our drivers, parents, and educators in going the extra mile to make sure our precious cargo arrives safely each and every day. Please take time to thank a bus driver for all they do to ensure the safe transport of the students of the Danville Public Schools community. With that being said, I would like to read the resolution that was passed by our school board on September 22nd, as well as a certificate of recognition from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Whereas the safety and well-being of Virginia's school-aged children are important to parents, family members, teachers, and citizens, and whereas over 50 school bus operators transport approximately 2,700 students over 640,000 miles throughout Danville each year, making school bus safety crucial to the overall well-being of our children and families. And whereas school bus transportation employees should be recognized for their diligence in safely transporting the school children of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And whereas student transportation administrators and operators remain diligent in their efforts to ensure the safe and efficient transportation of thousands of students in Danville on a daily basis, and their efforts are crucial to the operation of our schools. And whereas the highest standards of school bus safety are maintained through rigorous driver training and certification requirements, the use of vehicles that meet necessary safety requirements and mandatory passenger safety training for students, and whereas the cooperation and caution of motorists is necessary in order to maintain the safety of our students, and this can be accomplished by citizens complying with traffic signals, observing traffic patterns, and by stopping when students are boarding and exiting school buses. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Danville School Board recognizes October 20th through 24th, 2014 as School Bus Safety Week. This was signed by Dr. Edward Polhamus, Chairman of the School Board, and Dr. Kathy Osborne, Interim Superintendent. By the virtue of the authority vested by the Constitution of Virginia and the Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, there is hereby officially recognized School Bus Safety Week. Whereas the health and safety of all Virginian children is essential to the happiness and well-being of the Commonwealth's families and communities, and whereas public transportation helps thousands of Virginia's children arrive safely to and from school each day, and whereas the average school bus transports 54 student passengers, replacing approximately 36 family vehicles, increasing the convenience and efficiency of student transportation, and whereas school buses are designed with safety measures including bright colors, stop sign arms, and crossview mirrors to avoid crashes and prevent injuries, and whereas the highest standards of school bus safety are maintained through rigorous driver training and certification requirements, and whereas school bus transportation employees should be recognized for their steadfast commitment to safely transporting the Commonwealth students, now, therefore, I, Terrence R. McAuliffe, do hereby recognize October 20th through 24th, 2014 as National School Bus Safety Week in our Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens, and it's signed by Terry McAuliffe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Atkins. Do you have any members of your department in the audience this evening that we could honor?
I don't believe any of my folks made it tonight, sorry.
Well, I know they've been extra busy the last couple of days, so please convey on our behalf our appreciation for all that they do to keep the children safe and on time.
Okay, thank you.
Our third recognition this evening will be presented by Ms. Smith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening, I stand before you to celebrate a giant success. Some may say a small success, but we look at it as a giant success as we are celebrating Schoolfield Elementary for exiting out of focus school status. Schoolfield Elementary has worked together over the past 2 years under this focus school status area, and they have exited out making their proficiency areas in the area of reading and math. And we would like to congratulate that staff. And we did that earlier today, and we sent out invitations, and the staff was upstairs with us for a small reception today at 4:30, where we congratulated them on their success collectively as a group of teachers and previous administrators and the current administration on their success for exiting out of focus school status. And as a elementary school, this definitely is a huge effort that takes a lot of hard work and dedication of the staff and the administrators. And we had our previous administrator, Ms. Logan and Ms. Totten, were also with us upstairs today, along with our current administrators, Ms. Adams and Mr. Johnson, our current principals, there today to celebrate one step in the right direction as we are all on the momentum of working towards progress in all of our schools. So at this time, I'm going to ask that we congratulate the staff. Are there any other members of Schoolfield Elementary here with us today, or the administrators? If you stand, and let's give them a round of applause. And we are also celebrating the success of the students, because we know that if it wasn't for them and for their hard work and dedication, we would not be at this first step in the right direction of exiting out of focused school status, which that has come away from Schoolfield Elementary. So now we're going to continue to march forward so that we can become accredited, and that is the next step for this school. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Johnson to come forward with me, and he's going to talk to you briefly about a few things that he's looking forward to in the future for Schoolfield Elementary.
I thought I got out of that part. Good evening to the board, the superintendent, and all senior staff here this evening. Yes, it was a giant step for Schoolfield. So let me say on behalf of the staff and students at Schoolfield how excited we are to exit that process. Even though I was not there, I want to say thank you to the previous administration that led the process, and I can assure you that our staff now are excited about the direction that we're headed. We will be looking at our data and breaking down the reading and math scores, and bringing our leadership team and our school improvement team together to implement some programs that will just take us to the next level. So I'm hoping that we'll continue to have successes and celebrations, so you will probably see us again at a later time.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity tonight.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We very much appreciate that great news, and we applaud all the adults and the children who actually were the ones who had to perform to get it to happen. That is great news. Thank you all. All right, we now move to the public comments section of our meeting. As we were getting ready to get started, there was no one signed up, but that is not required. So the lectern is available to anyone who would like to come speak to the board on any issue. Oh, there is someone signed? Okay. Okay, we do have two individuals who signed up. Sorry that we didn't wait long enough to have that up here when we started. So taking them in the order that they signed up, we'll begin with Ms. Patrina Carter. Patrina?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greetings, Dr. Paul Hamus and board members. I just stand before you today, and it seems to be a good time because we're talking about safety of children. And October, I just want to recognize as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as well as the other awarenesses that are going on this month, and the effect that domestic violence has on our children. And I just wanted to bring that concurrently with this meeting, there is a vigil going on at the courthouse for domestic violence awareness. And I just thought that it would be apropos to bring it to the attention of the board members this evening that domestic violence does affect our children in the city of Danville. Thank you.
Thank you. That is indeed a very important reminder, and we appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Domestic violence comes in many forms and affects many people, including many of our children in the schools. Thank you for reminding us of that. The next individual who did sign up is Mr. David Wilson.
Good evening, Dr. Paul Haynes.
Good evening.
Dr. Osborne and the rest of the school board members. Glad to be here today at the school board meeting and hope that you all are enjoying the day and will continue to have a wonderful school board meeting. I'm reading this on behalf of a group of people, and I'll just read it and we'll go from there. We, the Citizens for Excellence in Education, would like to commend the Danville School Board for adopting to pray before their meetings. We believe the work which is done here will impact the city of Danville for generations to come and should definitely be covered in prayer. We pledge to support the school board that recognizes that a quality education has the ability to increase the economic success of the individual and the community. We expect our elected school board to act as a role model for the community and the schools. We further expect our elected school board to be responsive to the concerns of the community and set policies which foster an innovative and fair atmosphere for students, teachers, staff, and parents. Our elected school board should ensure an excellent education is provided equitably among all students in an inclusive, common learning environment that celebrates diversity and individualized success based on the student's best interests. There should be an absolute and immediate rejection of any marginalization of students and school based on assumed predisposition for success. We pledge to support a school board that works to increase the number of students receiving high school diplomas and not certificates. Our elected school board should clearly define and communicate its role and accessibility to parents, teachers, and the community. The school board should ensure that teachers and other staff members follow the chain of command in addressing grievances. The new superintendent should have a set of performance measures which are shared with the community in regards to moving our schools forward. With these standards in mind, the Citizens for Excellence in Education are in agreement with the decision of the school board to conduct a national search in filling the position of superintendent by using an independent hiring firm. We also acknowledge and are grateful to know that the community is being included in the process. We are certain if the current path continues, the search and the acquisition of a new superintendent will be a step in the right direction for the children of the Danville Public School System. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Are there others in the audience who would like to address the board this evening? Well, we thank you for being here in any case. We appreciate having a reasonable crowd to observe what goes on, even if you choose not to speak. So we move ahead to item 6.1. As the board will recall, during our planning retreat, we put some responsibilities on our committee structure, and the first of the committees to have a report coming out will be the Budget Committee, and Mrs. Hall will be taking care of that this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Paul Haynes. Yes, the Budget Committee met on September 15th in the Superintendent's Conference Room. In attendance was myself, Dr. Paul Haynes, Mr. Gould, Mrs. Hughes, and also Denise Thibodeau of the Danville Register, and Britt B. was also present. Our purpose was to evaluate the blueprint pillar operations and financial stewardship to guide the board in formulating division priorities. Our format was to evaluate individually each of the 4 focus areas by first receiving background information from Dr. Osborne, followed by committee discussion. These discussions allowed opportunity for members to ask questions, debate, or substantiate the focus area's relevancy, and determine by consensus if the focus should remain a division priority. The first focus: develop and reallocate fiscal resources to provide funding for successful support and implementation of division priorities. It is our recommendation this remain a high priority. Discussions supported the majority of the strategies, which include continuing discussions with the City of Danville to maximize purchasing collaborations, continuing efforts on cultivating City Council and school board relations, and supporting transparency in the budget development process. A suggestion, and one Dr. Osborne will follow up on, is exploring purchasing collaboration with Pittsylvania County Schools that may benefit both school systems. One additional strategy discussed was to hire a grant specialist. However, it was recommended it remain an option without priority at this time until adequate funding becomes available and the benefits of such position outweigh the cost. The second focus, developing a comprehensive plan to maximize attendance zones in K through 8. The committee recommends it not be a high focus for 2015-16, however, remain an option for the future should our division priorities and needs change. The committee recommends monitoring by the superintendent and staff and identifying changing demographic patterns and school capacity. This process should precede any decision to redistribute student population at the elementary and middle school levels. The third focus, continued alignment and development of safety, security, and emergency preparedness, the committee strongly supports. Safety should remain our highest priority and requires board support by consistently evaluating all strategies brought to us for approval by the superintendent. The committee was pleased many of the strategies developed last year to meet this objective have been implemented, including reestablishing the safety and security division level position, the development of the crisis threat training for all personnel, and continued evaluation of security procedures for building access. The committee recommends continuous evaluation and monitoring of strategies to ensure a safe environment for Danville Public School students, employees, and visitors. The fourth focus, developing a long-range facilities master plan to support the 5-year capital improvement plan, should remain a focus as we move forward with planning both short and long-term board objectives. Having recently completed in-depth facilities assessment, the committee recommends a strategic plan be developed that supports a multi-year financial strategy that aligns with and supports the facilities master plan. Discussions on this topic highlights the importance of educating our community on our facility needs and suggested an option of combining this in conjunction with our budget development sessions. It was suggested our board chair seek key individuals within Danville City government who can provide the board guidance as we move forward in our decision-making process for capital improvements. Strategies discussed were provide the board with updated information on the northern plat of land and discussions with the city on available shared storage facility for maintenance and operations. I respectfully submit the committee report as recommendations on behalf of the Budget Committee for consideration as we prioritize our vision for Danville Public Schools. I want to just mention, stress the continued transparency in our budget development process. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Osborne. I know that her and the staff have been working on some sessions for the community. So if you don't mind, if you can share some of that information would be great.
No, I'll be happy to. We have discussed for the last couple of months the need to make our budgeting process more transparent to the community, to make sure that more individuals, rather than mainly those who work with Danville Public Schools, understand how we develop our budget, where our money comes from, and how we decide how to spend our money. In light of that kind of desire from Danville Public Schools, we are offering 4 sessions for the community to come and listen to a brief presentation about how we receive our revenues, how our money goes out, and then to give us feedback on what our community believes are priorities for us, short-term and long-term goals for moving our division forward, both instructionally as well as with our capital plan. The first of those sessions will be Tuesday, October the 14th, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at E.A. Gibson Elementary School. The second session is Thursday, October the 16th, 2014, at 6 o'clock p.m. This is during the regularly scheduled October work session, and it will be held in the cafeteria of Schoolfield Elementary School. The third session is Tuesday, October the 21st, 2014, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at Park Avenue Elementary School. And the fourth session is Thursday, October the 23rd, 2014, from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at GLH Johnson Elementary School. We welcome the public to come and listen to our presentation and then offer their thoughts and suggestions and input about budget development for 2015-2016 for Danville Public Schools.
Very good. Thank you for the report and for the rapid development of the public input sessions. I know that there are additional things going on behind the scenes that might present some opportunities to the public in unique ways to help influence the budget. There is a sister school division somewhere north of us in Virginia that have a do-it-yourself online drag and drop type budget application for citizens and parents and even the students themselves to play with the budget and see if you can balance it and if you can prioritize to be able to balance it. So we're working on some very exciting opportunities to get some solid input from our citizens on how we can seek the kinds of improvements that we're looking for in Danville Public Schools. We need creative thinking beyond the members of this board and the central administration. So I hope everyone will have an opportunity, at least one of those 4 evenings later this month. They are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So trust you can get out and join us for some lively discussions. Are there questions or comments?
Will those be posted somewhere on the website?
Online, yes, they will.
Could I add?
Yes.
I'd like to add something else for the community to understand that you are certainly welcome to attend our committee meetings. They are posted on our website, and we also include them in our public notice. So it's not something that we're doing behind closed doors. You're certainly welcome to attend if you should so desire. So I just wanted to be sure everyone understood that.
And these dates went out as well in the public
notice.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know we had a copy of the Budget Committee report in our folders this evening. Do we know if those were provided on the table in the back for members of the public?
I don't believe they were.
Would it be possible for us to have copies made before we leave this evening so that members of the public could take that home with them if they'd like?
Yes, indeed. And
Thank you.
we will also then have it
Posted
posted on the website as well.
Thank
Will
you.
go up after tonight's meeting.
Okay. All right. Other questions or comments? All right. Then I will first explain that Ms. Bryant is not standing to try to get my attention or to make a speech, but she's been suffering from some pain that standing will sometimes alleviate. So we will let her stand anytime she wants to this evening. All right. Any other comments on the Budget Committee report? then let me say that this is a good start, and the other committees of the board are going to be taking a similar approach in the meetings that they have scheduled over the next couple of weeks. So I'm hoping that we'll have some reports from other committees by the work session coming up in 2 weeks, or at least by the November regular meeting, so that we can then compile all the recommendations and use that as part of our decision-making for long-term goals and short-term goals as well. So thank you very much, Ms. Hall and the members of the Budget Committee. We now move to a report from Dr. Osborne on a potentially very exciting partnership, and I'll let her take it from there before I get too overwrought in my gushiness.
I've never thought of you as gushy, Dr. Waldenus. I really haven't.
There are times.
In the field of 21st century machining and technology, Southside residents already have at their disposal a major machining program at Danville Community College and a significant push toward industrial programs and recruitment by local economic developers. The machining program at DCC currently trains students on various machines in their own campus machining lab. Students learn to operate some of the most state-of-the-art, high-tech equipment in the world, acquiring skills they will need to work for some of the most cutting-edge industries across the nation. As DCC began expanding its current precision machining programs to include a joint venture with the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, there was a significant desire to include Danville Public Schools in the discussion about future opportunities for our students. DCC President Dr. Bruce Sissom reached out to us to begin conversation about how we can collaborate to provide additional training and real-world experience to our students at the high school level. Staff visited precision machining programs at DCC and the Career Center in Pennsylvania County Schools. It became clear this opportunity would be a significant one to help prepare our students not only for a leg up into college, but real-world career training for high-paying jobs in an ever-expanding market. With jobs that can begin at $24 an hour, we believe this is a significant next step to preparing our students to be successful in the world. Details are continuing to be defined, but our goal is to be ready to begin with our first students in the fall of 2015. This is very exciting news for Danville Public Schools, and we will be bringing more details to our board and to the public as we move forward with this very exciting opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne. Questions or comments on this report?
Very exciting.
It is, it is. I just love walking around and having the young men and young woman talk to me about what they were doing and what they were learning, and they all made a point to tell me, now I know I'm working on a machine, but you know I'm doing math and I'm having to read, and so they wanted to make sure that I understood that this was reading and math kicked up a notch.
Oh, yes. It is reading and math with an absolute focus on actually getting things done and making things. In all my years at DCC, I was constantly amazed at the excitement over in the Machine Technologies lab on campus. That program has had basically full enrollment for many, many years. And as those students near the end of their second year in the two-year program, most of them have 3, 4, or 5 job offers. paying very well. They can beat a lot of bachelor's degree holders when it comes to the job market and the salary scale for a well-trained person in precision machining. As a tie-in with the precision machining, there's also a welding lab over at the college that's right there off of the machine shop itself. And welding is another area that for a person with the kinds of skills that are needed to do that safely and effectively, the sky is the limit as far as salary, particularly if they are willing to go who knows how many stories high into the air building skyscrapers in the major metro areas. So I really look forward to any opportunity we have to get those programs available to the high school students in Danville Public Schools. I think it could be a real game changer for our students and through them for our entire community. If we become known as a source of hundreds of highly qualified machinists every year between the public schools and the community college, that by itself will attract certain types of industries to this area that could really change the face of Danville as we know it. How's that for gushing?
That's good.
That fits? Okay. I can do it at times. Ms. Hall.
You may not have all the information to answer this question, but is this something that would be a dual enrollment type, preparing the students in their core subjects to feed into that particular program?
Yes.
Not to have machinery on our campus?
Or
we would?
We would have machinery on our campus, and we're discussing that this week and next week and the following week. One of the reasons I particularly wanted to go is I wanted to see how big a space that we needed. I had spoken with Ms. Rochford and we had talked about what the possibilities were within Danville Public Schools, because we do have 3 high schools and we have a lot of opportunity here. I would like to see this not be the only thing, because this really is the first of many opportunities like this that could just make so much difference to so many of our students. And one thing about the precision machining and the welding is that if we can offer trained individuals that are skilled in precision machining and welding, and companies see that, they will come here, and they just don't have these jobs. They have many, many other jobs that would offer others in our community opportunities. So we believe that, and this is a game changer, and I use that very cautiously, because that's not a term that I love to hear unless it's true. This could really be a game changer for this kind of industry and its success here in Danville.
Other questions or comments? Well, then I think I speak on behalf of the board to encourage you to pursue that with all due haste, to see what we can do to get involved in this program. And we thank Ms. Rochford ahead of time for figuring out how to make some of the details work. Thank you, Jackie. All right, we now move on to a update from Human Resources, and it lists that Ms. Whittle's going to do it, but we are pleased that Dr. Jennings is back with us, and she's going to report. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The update I have for you is with regard to our staffing. And I will share that we have, at this time, I'm thinking positively that you will vote on the personnel actions a little later this evening. That would leave us with 14.5 teacher vacancies, and I'll come back and give you the specifics, 2 classified vacancies and 1 administrative. Starting with the administrator, we have an assistant principal vacancy at Park Avenue. because, as you know, Ms. Newton, the principal, became a director, and Ms. Mitchell became principal. So now we are searching for an assistant principal to support her there at Park Avenue. In the classified ranks, we need a part-time maintenance person and one school security officer. You have that individual's resignation in your packet for later on to take action on in a moment. Moving up then to the teacher vacancies, 14.5. Of this number, there are 5 at the elementary level, but I want to point out that only 2 are regular classroom positions. And these came about because of an oversubscription of students in a couple of grade levels where we now have to put in additional teachers. The others are Title I positions. At the secondary level, we need 1.5 teachers for the middle school program at Langston Focus, 0.5 special ed, 1 regular classroom. And then at the high school at GW, we need 2 teachers. And I want to point out that one of those needs came about very recently when a new teacher we hired decided to leave. So we need 2 there for GW. The other positions are division level positions, and I want to be clear, these are not teachers needed for a classroom. These would serve division roles in support areas. One bit of good news is one of these is the elementary AG resource teacher, and 2 of our principals, Ms. Agner and Dr. Andrews, interviewed a highly qualified candidate for this position at 7:30 this morning. So I just want you to know that we are still working hard on all of these vacancies, and we're not going to stop until we get highly qualified individuals. That being said, I do point out, and I just remind everyone that we are continuing to use our website and Teach in Danville for recruitment, word of mouth, which is an extremely powerful recruitment tool. We do targeted advertising for specific vacancies going to specific areas where there are strong candidates of that particular nature. Our partnerships with colleges and universities, our email blasts and so forth, and again, our online application process is a big help. So that's an overview of our current vacancy situation.
Very good. Are there questions or comments for Dr. Jennings?
Dr. Jennings, I've never quite understood the 1.5 persons, 2.5. You're taking a half of another person, or how does that?
Sometimes it is a person who might serve half-time in one school and half-time in another, but in this particular case, with this being special education, the number of students in the program would qualify for only a half-time teacher. So right now that service is being provided by Langston's full-time special ed teacher, but we are still looking for a half-time teacher to take on the middle school program, and then the full-time person would go back to serving the Langston proper.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yes.
I may have not understood correctly, but at the beginning when you said looking hopefully for what we might vote on later, did those numbers that you read to us include positions that may become filled, or was that hoping that the filled positions that we might vote on later leaves that many people?
The latter. We were thinking positively that you would approve the hiring of the teachers that were recommended because they have been fully vetted, and we just took them right out and brought this to you.
Other questions or comments? Well, please convey to all of your staff how much we appreciate the time and effort that has gone into getting highly qualified folks into the positions. We thank you for that effort, and we look forward to seeing that number shrink rapidly toward 0.
Yes, we are looking forward to that, and I do, again, point out how very hard our principals are working to help that happen as well. And I will mention, Mrs. Whittle would have been here, but she had a family emergency.
Understood. Thank you so much, Dr. Jennings. All right, we now move to a report from Administrative Services on safety and security update. Dr. Dave Cochran is coming toward the lectern to do that.
Good evening, Dr. Klimas, board members. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you this report. Safety and security is a priority in Danville Public Schools. This statement is documented by the fact that I am standing before you tonight as the director of an office which you created specifically to address the role of safety and security. The most important category of safety and security is prevention. Prevention is not glamorous, yet it is our goal. For prevention, we conduct school safety audits using safety checklists. Teams composed of persons such as administrators, parents, law enforcement officers, and first responders walk the buildings and talk to the occupants. Needs and vulnerabilities are reported using audit report forms that are combined into a school division summary report. A second means of preventing incidents of school crisis is through training. One program we use is Nonviolent Crisis Intervention Training. A 6-hour course focuses on de-escalating behavior that leads to crisis through awareness and intervention skills. A 12-hour course includes the de-escalation training and adds techniques to safely support a person that is physically acting out. A third means of preventing incidents is through the use of deterrents such as metal detection. We have the option of using 2 DPS walkthrough units and numbers of handheld wands to conduct minimally invasive searches to detect violations of school policy. Students and persons requesting admission to school property may be subject to metal detection search. Law enforcement officers are present at the site of metal detection for safety. Another deterrent is to conduct random blanket administrative searches using canine units as our agents. A canine search is a property search conducted to detect the presence of contraband. Such contraband may be held in a school locker, a school desk, or within a motor vehicle parked on school grounds. Canine searches limit any contact between the canine units and any students and staff other than those administrators assisting with the search. For safety, law enforcement officers are present during a canine search. One of our most powerful deterrents is the presence of uniformed school security officers and school resource officers. The school security officers are trained through a state certification process and receive ongoing training through events such as attendance at the Virginia School and Campus Safety Training Forum, Nonviolent Crisis Intervention Training, and metal detection training. School resource officers are sworn law enforcement officers placed on DPS campuses through an agreement with the Danville Police Department. Security officers and resource officers not only deter incidents of disruption by their presence, they raise the level of safety and security through the rapport that they build with students and staff. A second category of safety and security is protection, which is provided through a division-wide crisis management plan. The advantage of a division-wide plan is that students, employees, and community partners can learn one plan employed at all sites across all the years of their enrollment or employment. Training in the crisis plan is ongoing. Crisis plan information has been shared with the public through the distribution of flyers, and the entire plan has been placed on the DPS website. Students are reminded of components of the plan through classroom posters in English and Spanish. To ensure the protection offered by the crisis plan, we routinely practice our response protocols with school-wide drills. Our responses of lock out, lock down, evacuate, and shelter are practiced in fire, tornado, earthquake, and active shooter drills. Principals record their drills in an online submission process. Monitoring the drills through this process allows us to document not only our compliance with state mandates, but also ensures our capacity to respond in a crisis. A third category of safety and security is mitigation. Mitigation includes actions taken to eliminate or reduce risks. An example of reducing risk is erecting fences at Forest Hills and Gibson. Fences aid in controlling access to our campuses and provide a barrier to discourage intrusion. I'm including video monitoring systems within the category of mitigation. The greatest usefulness of cameras when monitored by school administrators or school security staff is to detect potentially hazardous situations and intervene before those situations become violations of safety or security. The capacity of these systems, like technology in general, changes rapidly. The system installed at Bonner in August of this year is vastly superior to the system that served us for the previous 10 years. The new Bonner system provides greater coverage with views of the school that are not only larger, but crystal clear. If you have not heard, then it is my pleasure to share with you that on Thursday of last week, we were awarded a Virginia Security Equipment Grant in the amount of $99,990 to be used for upgrading George Washington High School's camera system to match that of Bonner. A fourth category of safety and security is response. When emergencies arise, schools and school divisions must quickly implement the policies and procedures within the crisis plan effectively and manage the crisis to protect the school community. Immediately following an activation of the crisis plan, an incident debriefing is prepared. The incident debriefing records what happened, what response protocol was employed, what worked, and what ways any future response might be improved. A recent example of an incident for which an incident debriefing was prepared was the August 29, 2014 incident, loosely based on the release of the sequel to the movie The Purge. What happened prior to that Friday was a social media fury, particularly on Facebook, hinting at a vague general threat of school violence. As a result, absenteeism was higher than normal. The incident debriefing recommended the exploration of additional means of monitoring publicly available social media feeds to provide indications and warnings for violation of school policy. A final category of safety and security is recovery. The goal of recovery is to quickly restore the educational and business operations in schools and school divisions following an activation of the crisis plan. Recovery includes the emotional and physical healing of those involved in a crisis and the repair of any property or programs distressed by the crisis. Examples of actions within this category include providing school counseling in cases of unexpected death or restoring electricity following a storm. In this report, I've shared with you examples of what is being done, the 5 categories of safety and security. In the final section of the report, I share with you items currently in the pipeline of feasibility and budget investigation. The first of which is a text messaging tip line that will allow students to share what they may otherwise feel uncomfortable in sharing by guaranteeing anonymity through the use of a commercial vendor. Secondly, a public social media monitoring service that will discover, analyze, and report open source posts made to social media sites that are violations of school policy. This 24/7, 365 service provides indications and warning information in near real-time incident alerts. With this service, we would be able to identify individuals and groups with the intent, capability, and opportunity to disrupt the safe operations of our schools. Thirdly, a keyless access control system with wireless capability that offers the school division a way to control who has access into our buildings and classrooms. Such systems can serve as target hardening measures, making it more difficult to commit crimes. Some systems allow teachers to initiate a lockdown protocol from anywhere in the room with the touch of a button on a fob. Thank you for your interest in receiving this report this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions the report has generated.
Yes, Ms. Holt.
Of the 3 areas you mentioned at the end of your report, you say they are in the pipeline. Are we currently
They're in
looking
the
into
pipeline
this?
for a feasibility and budget investigation.
For the, okay, to future budget considerations. Okay. Another question I have is, do you do any type of training with our teachers to diffuse situations in their classroom?
Yes, ma'am. That would be the Nonviolent Crisis Intervention Training, the 6-hour course.
Okay.
By this time next week, we will have trained all the staff at Bonner. And we're also negotiating now for October training for all the teachers in Westwood. We've also trained all the bus drivers, all the special educators in the city.
Great. That's great.
Yes.
Thank you for the report. That is what I wanted to somewhat ask you about. What are the deterrents for our kids getting on the bus? A child brings a knife, gun. What is the deterrence for that end?
Historically, we have managed student behavior at the point at which they step onto the bus. At the bus stop and to their home, that has been managed by the community policing, the Danville Police Department, historically. Once they're on the bus, there is absolutely nothing that prevents, and this would be part of a random search protocol, that any principal could decide to utilize our metal detection, for example, place all of the bus numbers in a hat and randomly draw those, and could take that group of students and walk them through metal detection. You either have to have a random process so that you're not picking on anyone, or else you have to do everybody. And your random process has to be decided ahead of time and has to be without any kind of discrimination against an individual or group.
Okay, in the past, how often has that been done? Is it
to bus groups?
Yes.
I wouldn't have any data to support an answer.
I just would like to see, if possible, I think if we could work more so on before they get to the school, that may be helpful as a suggestion.
Other questions or comments for Dr. Cochran? Thank you very much for that report. We now move to a report from the instruction side of the house, and we invite to the lectern Dr. Corey Davis from Virginia State University. For those who are not aware of what Dr. Davis is doing in our region for our students, he is directing the Academy of Engineering and Technology that currently is housed at the Institute and has many of our students involved. Dr. Davis, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction to the school board. I just wanted to share some highlights with you guys about what's been going on this year. And in the several months I came before you to introduce the program and talk about the great opportunity for students to get college credits in engineering, technology, gain workforce development skills, and get exposed to industry. And I do have also with me two of the students that are in the program who will come up when I'm done to share some of their experiences so far in the 9 or 10 weeks that we've had with that. So this is a partnership between Virginia State University, New College Institute, DCC, the Institute, and several school organizations throughout Martinsville, Henry County, as well as the Danville, Pennsylvania County region. Currently in the Danville cohort, we have about 24 students, originally 25. One student had to disenroll due to some family issues, comprising about 9 students from the Danville schools and about 16 from the Pennsylvania County schools. So we have an instructor, VSU faculty, who the kids are lucky to have. She's an aeronautical engineer, so she's able to engage them daily on engineering, technology, analysis, and all of the decision things that have to go into that. So the semester has gone well, and her name's Elizabeth Sharp. She couldn't be with us today. She's a little under the weather. She tried to make it here. But she did give me some tidbits that I wanted to share with you guys before I get into some of the other experiential learning things. So the class is progressing well. The students are getting a combination of the intro to engineering, exposure to engineering formulas and principles, understanding how important critical thinking and innovation is into analyzing certain things. They get an opportunity to present. They get into small group discussions where they collaborate with each other. After every collaboration effort, there's an opportunity to present and work on those communication skills throughout the class. The students are working on computer-aided graphics, drafting, and design. That's sort of engineer speak. Everything that we do or we design, it has to be visually displayed. So the students are involved in that in the first semester. And based on Libby's comments, the semester is going well. Coursework is proceeding She's gotten access to PowerSchool to be able to report and monitor and provide input to parents as well as back to the school system. The students are learning how to problem solve through direct injection into solving a real-world problem. They are collaborating, and they're just beginning to understand how to use simple softwares, maybe to us at this stage, Microsoft Excel, understanding the appreciation of how Excel can help you crunch numbers, create tables and charts and figures, and provide sort of a summary of all the work you've done throughout the semester on a project. So they're very engaged in that. So that's more on the academic side of it, and this is all about 10 weeks. But the students got started well before the academic year started. So they were engaged in the experiential learning side of AET throughout the summer. So it was a 2-week intensive where they were exposed to workshops on product innovation and design. They were exposed to supply chain management workshops, fabrication, precision machining at ARCAT. They operated 3D printers, and they also were part of an enterprise resource planning workshop on SAP. And these were all held at the Institute, ARCAT, and the New College Institute in Martinsville. In addition to the workshops, students were exposed to visits to industry. So they got an opportunity to tour the Volvo truck plant in Greensboro, the FedEx Air Hub to learn about supply chain management and logistics. We took a trip almost 3 hours east of here to the Richmond area. They got to see the Commonwealth Center for Advanced Manufacturing, the research hub, where lots of institutions from Virginia engage in small-scale research, applied research to help Fortune 500 companies in the area. They toured Rolls-Royce, and then DCC has a heavy footprint at Rolls-Royce, so they were able to see what goes on there. And in addition to that, one thing that they might have not thought was pretty good, they got to see Fort Lee. Understanding how the military actually uses video games to simulate the real world scenario and prepare for missions. They also got to see the VSU engineering department and some of the projects that we're engaged in with faculty there in terms of unmanned vehicle research and SAE formula car design. So the students, in that 2 weeks, we were packing a punch for them. At the end of the 2 weeks, they had a summer project to present and show to local industry and partners. So some of the projects that they focused on were geared towards environmental efficiency. So they came up with ideas about using an underground filtration system to help factories for pollutions. They also looked at ways of using umbrellas to filter rainwater to be able to use in third world countries. So they were thinking about some good projects that are practical and are needed in the real world. Addition to the experiential learning, and this will probably be the end of it, they've provided some testimonies on their experience, and I just wanted to read a few of those excerpts, and the students will give you theirs as well. Some of the excerpts that the student mentioned, there are no limitations to innovation. Communication skills are key to successful being in life. Military is more than just about soldiers. It was cool to see how simulation and video games help the Army to prepare for missions. It takes a lot for a product to reach a customer. And probably the one I like most, failing is not failing, it's just part of the process. And that's something we tell them as engineers and going through our design process all the time, that it's important. And two more, I never knew how complex machines could be. They got to the FedEx logistics hub and they saw a machine that was sorting 24,000 packages in 1 hour. So they were surprised by that. And another one of which I love, because I'm always a good teammate, collaboration is always essential for success. So they got an opportunity to see all of that, and this is all from the summer and the first 8 to 9 weeks of school. We have several things that are upcoming. We're starting our recruiting process early for next year's AET cohort. The students will begin to take their academic year experiential learning visits to industry, such as Goodyear and Essel, and trips to VSU. We've incorporated flex days where students get to work with the instructor if there's additional tutorial opportunities needed. When we bring the guest lecturers or the visits in, And they're going to continue to interact in soft skill workshops. So there's a lot going on for them, and I know they love the opportunity, the chance to engage, and I'll let you hear from Reginald Jeffries and Ms. Christian Harper Edwards on their experience.
Good evening. I'm Kristen, and my outlook so far on the AET program, it has like really developed time management skills. It's helped me get more depth with studying. Like if you don't study for this program, it's not very easy. The math I'm taking right now, where we both are taking, is pre-calculus, and pre-calculus is like majority thing for as far as engineering. The same things that we work on math or the same things we do in engineering. So pre-calculus is also one of those hardest subjects. I used to love math, but it's becoming very challenging. But the teachers do work with us. They're really open, and I like the way we have had it set up because it's smaller class sizes than I do have at my school. I'm from George Washington, if I didn't think I said that. But he'll talk to you about the English half and the engineering.
Well, currently we are taking English 111, which has shown the impact on reading and writing. Dealing with engineering, you really do need to understand the concept of how to read and also how to write legibly. So, because if you don't do that, I promise you your engineering career will be a failure. So please understand the importance of reading and writing. The engineering course started off as a challenge, but quickly became more as an essential understanding, where it helped us understand that engineering is a part of everyday life. If it's from cooking, or even washing dishes or washing clothes, you always use engineering no matter what you're doing. However, we also use the program known as SolidWorks, and in SolidWorks what we do, we build 3D modules where we have a 3D printer, which is located in Martinsville, and we can actually 3D print different objects, or you could just sketch a diagram and you could actually print it out and see how it works. We have learned in the class that there are so many possibilities that are going on with 3D manufacturing, where they have clothes that are potentially being used. They also have prosthetics, which are potentially being used. I also participated in the summer program through the AET program, where I participated in the group of the umbrella filter. We decided to take a regular umbrella and figure out how can we filter the rainwater to help countries and to help third world countries have clean, safe water. So in overall, the program has been a very, very great success, and it's helped us analyze and understand and help us look at life in a whole another aspect. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Dr. Campbell.
I must say this. I've known these two young people for a long time, and just to share with the board how creative Stephen Gould, Reggie is. Stand up, Reggie, one more time. The bow tie that he has on. Reggie, take it loose. To show you how creative he is. That is a regular bow. That's a regular tie. And he created that it can be a bow tie, so he can tie a regular tie into a bow tie. So every Sunday when he comes to service, he shows me the different tie that he's so beautifully tied, from a regular tie to a bow tie.
That itself is an engineering feat. Excellent. Other comments or questions for the young people or for Dr. Davis? Well, I'll comment that I am thrilled to hear such positive reports from the Academy of Engineering and Technology. This is a wonderful opportunity for some of our young people, and I'm so glad that you two chose to go for something different and then come and tell us all about it and maybe help excite some other young people to follow in your footsteps. And I will express slight sympathy about the pre-calculus. For those who don't know the extent of pre-calculus, I guess it's best described as algebra and geometry on steroids. So it's pretty powerful stuff. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Davis, and everyone associated with the Academy of Engineering and Technology. All right, if there are no other questions for them, we will move on to our action items. First one up this evening are the personnel recommendations that were alluded to earlier by Dr. Jennings. So she's going to come back to the lectern and give us the lowdown here.
I only ask that next time you don't have me follow students like that. Well, how impressive.
Yeah.
We do have for your consideration, hopefully your approval this evening, 9 personnel recommendations. The first 6 are for licensed staff members. And there are 2 I'll point out. As you see, 2 of them have several years of experience. These are folks who have come to us from other school systems where they had successes and had licensure. They are being brought to you this evening, all of them, because they've now gotten a Virginia license. Many of them are highly qualified, and I wanted to point that out to you. Please know that while we are still hiring in October, it doesn't mean that we are just picking people who simply have a license or have a degree or whatever. We are interviewing and we are choosing the best for our students. It's not just warm bodies. We are getting good teachers. And I can say already that our principals are in classrooms observing, and if they see concerns, they're addressing them right away. So we feel very comfortable and confident about that. The other recommendations, as you see, 1 classified person being recommended for employment, and then 2 resignations. I did allude to the case ending in 09 when I spoke about the classified security officer vacancy that we do have. This individual, you'll see, has a note. They are without proper notice, and that is because the individual went to the supervisor and said, "I'm not coming back." And didn't come back.
All right. You have heard the recommendation from Dr. Jennings for these 9 personnel actions. What is your pleasure?
Chair, I move approval.
Second.
All right. Heard a motion from Dr. Campbell. I believe the second was probably first presented by Ms. Hughes.
It's 1.5.
1.5.
1.5.
I'll take the 5. 0.5.
Asymptotically approaching second. Right.
Pre-calculus.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the personnel recommendations. Is there any relevant discussion? Then let's call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paul-Hamus?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Ms. Downs?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much, Dr. Jennings. All right, we now move ahead to actions that originated with the school board itself. And the first one comes out of the policy committee. And so we'll ask Ms. Bryant to make any comments she wishes on the proposed policy revisions that are back for second reading and potential approval tonight.
Recommended policy number 2080.51, restraint and seclusion of students. This comes basically from the State Department, and the wording has been given to us by the Virginia School Boards Association. It defines physical and mechanical restraint and seclusion. It also gives us the guidelines during which any of these 3 methods can be used and by whom they can be used, which are personnel who have been trained to do so in the proper techniques and using the proper devices should that be necessary. It also alludes to the Virginia Code 22.1-279.1 that provides no teacher, principal, or other person employed by the school board shall subject a student to corporal punishment. This prohibition of corporal punishment shall not be deemed to prevent, and then it gives us a list of things that it should not be deemed to prevent. Documentation and notice to parents, the wording that came to us was a parent or guardian will be notified in writing within a reasonable period of time, not to exceed 15 school days after any use of physical restraint or seclusion resulting in observed physical injury to the student. And then there's a few more words there. There are 2 regulations that also go with this policy, and there are some cross-reference policies on disciplining students with disabilities, as well as the specified Code of Virginia. The school board has had a couple of conversations about the length of time, and I think Mr. Gould has suggested that we change that wording. And would you recite that for me, please?
Sure. And actually, as I've been looking at it further tonight, I wonder if what I had suggested before was to reduce the notification window down from a period not to exceed 15 school days to 1 day or 24 hours. And looking at the earlier part of that sentence, it is notification in writing within a reasonable period of time. And tonight I wonder if we still don't want to reduce that window for written notification down to a much shorter period, perhaps 2 or 3 days. But I also wonder if it's not advisable for us to include a requirement to at least attempt to notify a parent or guardian by phone within 24 hours, to perhaps create an additional notification within the proposal.
I'll let Mr. Thacker speak to that, because there may already be something in place that would require that.
Other than I'm aware of.
Okay.
And the phrasing would be attempt to reach parents within a 24-hour period.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, perhaps it makes sense for us to hold this so that we can take a little bit of time with the language, since we're including a new provision in here rather than just shortening a period.
Okay. Yes, is there any objection to simply working on that for the next couple of weeks and bring it back at the work session later this month?
I think the policy committee is meeting on the 13th, so we could probably do it at that meeting and then present it at the work session.
Very good. So to review your intent, you're thinking the requirement should be twofold. First of all, an attempt to reach the parent by phone within 24 hours.
Correct.
And a requirement to notify in writing. Maybe you could again use the idea of to initiate written contact within 2 school days or 3 school days.
Sure, and I think it's probably something where we can draw on Mr. Spencer's expertise as to how to word the dropping it in the mail, because I think that's what we can control. We can't control receipt, but we can control our own transmittal of it. So.
All right. Are there other comments, Ms. Hall?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to see some wording in there documented.
Right.
Attempts. And we probably do that, but I would like to see something like that
And that was
included.
actually, when I was looking at the 2 forms that were a part of the regulation, we have a variety of information that is called for to be included in the forms. And I think to Ms. Hall's point, we should have an additional part of the box on each of these forms that says the date and time that the phone call was attempted, and also the date that notification was placed in the mail.
Could we add, with the notification in the mail, to me, the best avenue to go is certified. I mean, if you send it certified, we know we've done our part. Whether they accept it, that's something totally different. But if we send it certified, I mean, everything's in place there. And there are several attempts that are made. The receipt comes back to you.
I think that makes sense.
Excellent idea.
And it may also be worthwhile to try to, particularly if there is difficulty reaching a parent or guardian, to try to provide the affected student with some written documentation that he or she could take home. Might as well, we send a lot of other things home with our students. It seems like that would at least be worth trying.
All right, then it sounds like the consensus is to make a little more modification than we had originally thought. And if there is no objection, we will simply not take action at all tonight and ask the policy committee to pursue that with assistance from the central administration who can help us with the details on how to handle all of that. Any objection?
No objection, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, but the 3 persons who gave me some recommendations, if you would just send that via email so that I will have that. Thank you.
Very good. We will accomplish that, and the committee can look at that before the next work session. Anything else on the potential policy change that we're putting off? All right, thank you. Then we shall move right along to the hosting of the spring VSBA regional meeting. It's always a volunteer effort, and a school board will simply step up to the plate and say, we'd love to have everybody come to one of our schools sometime in the spring for the spring regional meeting. And if I recall correctly, we were actually approached on this to see if we might be interested. Who was it that received the inquiry?
I received the inquiry from Mr. Bullock. He is the, I believe, chairperson for the region, yes.
Okay.
And in our regional meeting at the last conference I attended, they put out that request, and I said, well, I will certainly share it with the board and get back with you. So I'm glad we're now at the point where we can make a decisions, because I do feel that they need our response. If I recall, Halifax offered as a backup to us if we were unwilling or unable.
All right, so this is an action item. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, can you give me more information about the meeting?
The regional meeting is for the, what would it be, about 20 school boards in the southern region of the Virginia School Boards Association. The southern region meets at the summer conference in Richmond as, just one of the time slots. The region also meets at the annual convention in November at one of the time slots. And then each of the 8 or so regions around the state have a regional conference hosted by one of the member school boards. It's typically in a school that they want to show off. They provide a meal in the cafeteria of the school. The program is the art competition that we're always so competitive in, I'm proud to say, along with updates on any changes from the VSBA Board of Directors at the state level, and sometimes a speaker that is recruited by the VSBA central office in Charlottesville. Sometimes a member of their staff is the speaker for the events. And there is usually some entertainment provided during or after the dinner by students of the host division. And it can range from basically a full marching band on the gym floor to a small group ensemble. I don't suppose it has to be musical, but that seems to be the tendency at many of the spring regional meetings. And I've got a hunch that we have multiple options we could consider using if we host.
So is this action item for just hosting, and then we would work out the particulars where we would have it? And
Exactly.
all of those?
Yes, because the dates for the regional meeting have to be coordinated with the other regions, and of course with the host schools and the officers of the region.
So, Mr. Chair, you need a motion?
I would appreciate a motion.
So move.
Second. A second.
Whatever he said, right? All right, we have a motion from Dr. Campbell with a second from Ms. Hall to authorize the hosting of the spring regional meeting of the Virginia School Boards Association. And I believe you said naming Ms. Hall to communicate that to the regional officers.
I heard that.
I knew someone else heard it. Okay.
I'll be glad to.
Now, let's see. And Ms. Hall, you seconded that
I
motion,
did,
didn't you?
yeah.
Okay. Now, the real key question, does Ms. Jordan have any of that wording down?
I do.
Got it? Yay, good for you. All right. There's a motion on the floor. Any debate?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a cost associated for the hosting division?
Actually, the attendees pay for the meal, but we set up whoever would come in to cater it, and we would certainly fall within the guidelines of how much money we have brought in. So the school division doesn't actually cover the cost. It's those who are coming.
Other questions, comments, or debate? And I believe they may be ready to vote. Let's give that a try.
Okay. Dr. Paul Hamus?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We now move to dates for the discipline hearings. We appear to have reached the point in the school year when the number of appeals may start exceeding our capacity after our regular meeting and our work session. We're limiting ourselves to 2 or 3 of those in any one of these evenings. And we're, I think, fully booked tonight and at least partially booked already for the next work session. So what I would like us to do is certainly decide when in October we could have a meeting strictly for discipline appeals after the work session, perhaps that very next week. And if we smoothly get to a consensus on day of the week and time of day, and you want to, we could take a blanket approach and approve, the third Tuesday or whatever you say, all the way through next May. Mr. Gould.
Mr. Chairman, I know we had discussed it informally once or twice, but would it be possible for us at the work session later this month to revisit the possibility of having kind of the rotating panel of members for disciplinary hearings and perhaps to forego setting a certain date for November on through May until that meeting, so we could discuss both the panel and maybe all come with our availability and ideas for some type of recurring
Yes,
meeting.
that indeed is possible. What he's referring to, in case you have not looked at the state code recently, instead of the full board hearing every appeal, the board can have a committee of, typically it would be about 3 members, who hear the appeals. And under state law, if a 3-member committee is unanimous in their decision, then that ends the process. They speak basically for the board when they are unanimous in their decision. If it's a split vote, then it comes to the board for a review on the record, not an additional actual appeal process, but just on the record. So that could be done. I think some of us wanted to make sure that new members of the board had ample opportunity to see how the full board handles these things before we go toward a committee approach, but I think certainly in another couple of months we could be ready for that. So the suggestion there would be to simply choose tonight a date in October to handle our immediate need, and then talk at the work session about whether we want to go for that committee approach. So, if that's agreeable to everybody, let's talk dates in October. I think that third week, the week of the 20th, would probably be our best bet, because that would be shortly after the work session, and then it would still be 2 weeks before the regular meeting in November.
Mr. Chair, does it have to be after the work session?
Does it have to be after the work session? Since we've already booked some appeals for the work session, I think it would probably make sense to wait until after that for subsequent appeals, but it wouldn't literally have to, and we could probably reschedule the ones that are scheduled for the 16th if you want to do.
I don't know how the other board members' schedule is, but I mean, normally our work sessions are 3 to 4 hours, and then if we're doing 4 or 5 disciplinary cases.
Oh, I may have misunderstood you. We're not talking about having it the night of.
Okay.
After the 16th. Now, on the 16th, we're going to have at least one that's already been scheduled.
So when are we talking?
We're talking about some day the next week.
Okay.
A separate meeting.
A separate meeting.
Exactly.
For this, okay. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on Tuesday and Thursday of that week, there are the 5:30 public input on the budget. That Tuesday over Park Avenue and Thursday at Johnson, we could potentially come back here afterwards and have some discipline to finish.
What are those dates? What are the dates?
20th, could we look at the 20th or the 22nd?
We could. I have a standing obligation on Mondays.
How about the 22nd?
22nd would be okay with me.
Are we talking about afternoon?
We haven't said.
I could do the 22nd if it's in the afternoon, not at night.
All right. To give the principals a chance to be here, probably the earliest that would make a good start would be about 3 o'clock.
Well, we used to have disciplinary cases about that time.
True.
So.
I
Ms.
can't be
Hughes?
here, not until after 3. For me, I can't be here either day until after 3.
After 3?
Yes.
Would 3:30?
I need about 4 to get
4.
free of a court obligation.
Okay. So we're up to 4 o'clock. One day that
4-1, 4-1, 4-2, 4 works.
22nd.
All right, are we looking at Wednesday the 22nd still?
Stephen, does 4 work?
Yes.
4 o'clock on Wednesday the 22nd. That looks like we may have agreement. Although I probably ought to ask the administration. Can you handle it on 4 o'clock on a Wednesday?
Probably.
Probably.
Probably. We will look at our schedules, but I expect we can with this much notice.
All right, that's encouraging. Okay, so 4 o'clock on the 22nd, and depending on how many it is, you may have to feed us.
No matter how many.
No matter how many. All right, so I believe we have managed to reach consensus before we put a motion on the floor, which will make this a little smoother, I believe. Would someone care to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
All right, Dr. Campbell. And do we have a second on that?
Second.
All right, Ms. Dones has seconded that one. And that motion is to hold a discipline Appeal meeting on Wednesday, October 22nd, starting at 4 p.m. Everybody with us on the motion? All right, then any discussion? All right, then let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Ms. Downs?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Dr. Paul Hamus?
Yes. Very good. All right, we are now ready to move to our closing comments, and I think we'll start with Mr. Spencer.
I don't have any comments.
Okay, and then we'll turn to Dr. Osborne.
I do. I have good news. U.S. Secretary of Education Orrin Duncan recognized 337 schools as National Blue Ribbon Schools for 2014 based on their overall academic excellence or their progress in closing achievement gaps among student subgroups. These groups demonstrate that all students can achieve high levels. He says, these great schools are fulfilling the promise of American education, that all students, no matter their name or zip code, can flourish when schools provide safe, creative, and challenging learning environments. National Blue Ribbon Schools are models of consistent excellence and a resource for all other schools and school districts. We celebrate them for their tireless effort and boundless creativity in reaching and teaching every student. We're very proud that Galileo has been named a National Blue Ribbon School for 2014. George Washington High School has been recognized as a Blue Star School. Blue Star Schools recognize a school testing 10 or more students having achieved a 75% passing rate on the financial literacy certification test and having either a majority of students on a given grade level take the test or have the students who took it achieve an average score of 80% or higher. This is no small feat. These schools have given students vital knowledge about their personal finances and have provided them with tools they need to become financially capable young adults. Danville Public Schools, as Dr. Cochran said earlier, has received a Virginia Security Grant Award of $99,990. These funds will be used to upgrade the current security equipment at George Washington High School to include cameras, monitors, cabling, and other necessary components and the installation. We will have a required match of $31,250, which will come to the board at our October work session for consideration. Danville Public Schools has received a Gear Up Grant Award to serve identified students in Bonner and Westwood Middle Schools. Gear Up stands for Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs. These programs are designed to increase awareness of college and financial aid options, increasing participation in academically challenging courses, and supporting students through their college admission process. Successful Gear Up students also receive a scholarship to support their post-secondary pursuits. Program funds support tutoring, test preparation, summer bridge programs, college tours, and study skills development. Although we do not yet know the exact amount of our grant, we know we will receive these funds to support all of these activities and a record keeper and a site coordinator as well as other funds directed to support our students. The continuing author of the Gear Up grant is Carolyn Stevens, Assistant Principal at Westwood Middle School. And more thanks to our community for more donations. West Main Baptist Church donated 3 boxes of new short and long sleeve polos in grade level colors for the clothing closet at Bonner Middle. Sam's Club of Danville donated 20 gift cards to teachers of $50 each for classroom supplies at Bonner Middle. River Oak Church of God donated boxes of school supplies for Gibson, Woodbury Hills, and Schoolfield Elementary Schools. We continue to have a giving community. Thank
you. Ms. Bryant.
Congratulations and congratulations and congratulations and even more congratulations. I've heard a lot of good news tonight and I'm just so excited about that. Thank you for continued support of Danville Public Schools, to all the faculty and staff and the central office personnel and our assistant superintendents and our interim superintendent, and for all my board colleagues who work so hard doing what they do. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Hall.
I would like to thank all those in the community who have donated. What a great list, and just very giving, and it just warms the heart. So we're so appreciative of that. Thank Mr. Corey Davis and Virginia State University for all they're doing for our children. These children were very impressive. I believe it was Kristen and Reggie. Do I have those names correct? And also to congratulate Galileo and GW on their awards. And welcome back to Dr. Jennings. It's nice to see you back. Thank you.
Mr. Gould.
I would just adopt everything that Ms. Bryant and Ms. Hall said with congratulations all around, and we're so lucky to have a community that's so engaged and so committed to the success of all of our students. Wanted to just remind folks about the upcoming budget sessions that were mentioned earlier, and also to bring to everyone's attention the public forums that our superintendent search consultants are having Monday and Tuesday night. We're very serious about wanting the community's input and feedback at all of those sessions about the search process, about our budget. It's a chance for us to all remain in dialogue about what's important to our division and how we achieve the goals that we're setting for ourselves. So I hope to see a lot of folks at those. The information is available on our website and it was included in the public notice that went out today. And if you ever have any questions about when these meetings are, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We'd love to see you there. And thanks to everyone who came tonight.
Ms. Stones.
I don't have anything extra to add, but I will say this, mirroring what they've already said, is need to repeat everything everybody said. But also, I'm proud of the achievements that were mentioned here tonight about our schools, namely Galileo, Schoolfield, and GW, but also proud of all the students in our district, whether they go to these schools or not. And also to understand that we really appreciate all that all of our staff do for us on a daily basis. And again, I always have to go back to the bus drivers. It was just amazing when I went to visit them when just before school opened. So please, let's not forget School Bus Safety Week, which is October the 20th through the 24th. Because most of those drivers are up and out before our feet hit the floor in the mornings, making sure that our kids are getting to school on time. And also, welcome back, Dr. Jennings.
Ms. Hughes.
I'd like to echo the sentiments that were expressed by my board colleagues. I just want to say
to Kristen, I just want you to know that pre-calculus made me cry too. I just want you to know, there's no other way to say it. But you can get over it. I just want you to know that. Congratulations to Galileo. But the one thing that I do want to say is congratulations again to Schoolfield. For some reason, that just really stood out to me. And when Ms. Smith kept saying that they came out of mourning, every time she said they came out of it, it reminded me of something that I read this morning that said, forgetting those things behind, I press toward the mark. And I'm just so excited for Schoolfield because I know that you're going to continue to press toward the mark and to do your best and to keep the momentum going, and that before long you're going to be getting awards for being a blue ribbon school. I can just see that. Your future is going to be bright because next step is going to be better and better, and you can see yourselves doing better. And I just want to congratulate all the parents and guardians and things that are there supporting the students at Schoolfield and at all the Danville Public Schools, because we know that every time somebody tells a student, you can do it, you got it in you, it makes a difference. It helps them believe in themselves. So continue to do that, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Dr. Campbell?
I'm going to suggest to the board in close that maybe Dr. Osborne's statements would be last, because she hit all of the major pieces, and we're checking off what we're going to say, and you just hit them all. And so maybe that's something that we can talk about. But thank you for all those particular pieces that you raised. I want to spend just a little time. It's been mentioned twice, but Dr. Jennings, we're certainly glad that you're back with the team. We've missed you. I don't want to start crying, but we really truly did, and we're glad you're back. See your smiling face in the place. So I want you to know that our prayers were with you, and thank you so much for being back with us. I am not going to recapitulate what everybody else said, but we did not get together in reference to our outfit tonight. As you all know, this is Cancer Awareness Month, and so I hope that we will do all that we can to be aware of this dreadful disease. You do not certainly want your body to outlive your mind, nor your mind to outlive your body. And so certainly want you to keep that in mind. Last but not least, it was mentioned that we were talking about the disciplinary cases that we have coming up, and some tonight. But the truth be told, I think that from last year, our disciplinary cases are down. And so we really appreciate that, because that takes a tremendous amount of our time to deal with that. So parents, let's echo that we need for you to do all you can do, because it should not be that a teacher or principal should spend the whole day trying to discipline a child. They should get that at home so they can come to school and learn. And so thank you so very much, my colleagues, and we look forward to great things happening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Paul Hamas?
I would like to echo everything that my colleagues have said this evening. So many positive things happening in Danville Public Schools. And we were so pleased to hear the various reports this evening, to be able to tell to everyone who will listen the good things that are happening every day in Danville Public Schools. Just to add some detail, one little detail that really struck me when first reading about the National Blue Ribbon Award for Galileo, it was the only public high school in all of Virginia to achieve that this year. And that speaks volumes to what we have right here in Danville. I also want to offer some special thanks this evening to our Deputy Clerk, Liz Jordan. You will never know how many hours she has spent with all the details of the various events coming up for the superintendent search team. She has really poured a lot of effort into making that a smooth couple of days that will get a lot accomplished. Liz, very well done. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then finally, I want to talk about an event that happened just this morning. And as chair, I was able to get some folks to help out at the last minute this afternoon. They're going to maybe start a slideshow behind me as I speak. Today was the second day of the Career Expo 2014, hosted by the agricultural, what do they call it? Agricultural complex out in Pittsylvania County, just north of Chatham. And I had read about this, and I agreed to go, even though it meant being there by 7:30 for breakfast. But it was worth it, because I stayed to watch the children from about 10 different school divisions come rolling in on buses in a beautifully coordinated schedule and go through zones, group by group, to make sure that they saw all the hands-on kinds of career demonstrations that were out there. It was spectacular. Special kudos to Dr. Julie Brown from the Institute for heading up the organization of this year's Career Expo for our children. And within DPS, I know that in addition to teachers and principals and bus drivers, the main person that really needs to be recognized because of her coordination for us is Jackie Rochford. Jackie, beautifully done, well organized. And as I took these pictures, I tried very hard not to violate FERPA, so there shouldn't be any student faces in them. But I did try to capture the level of excitement and the hands-on nature of what was going on out there in the Agricultural Center. It was a wonderful day. Yesterday, we had 7th graders out there. And I can just imagine the level of excitement with 7th graders. Today was 9th graders. And they came from as far east as Halifax County, as far west as Patrick County. Bus after bus rolling in there. And Ms. Smith was involved right there on the floor of the arena, directing groups and keeping them involved. It was a wonderful day. And I think from everything I heard, from the companies that were displaying, to the school divisions, to Julie Brown, that it's just going to get bigger over the next few years. They have shown what's possible right here in our region, and they're going to make it happen on a grander scale. So, I trust that you will talk to some of our students and find out some details and see if they aren't as excited as I am. So, good things continue to happen on a regular basis. And that concludes my comments. So I believe we are in order for a motion about a recess.
How long? 10 minutes?
I'd settle for 10.
I move that the meeting of the school board of the city of Danville, Virginia be recessed for 10 minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to recess for 10 minutes. Is there any discussion on that? All right, then let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Dr. Paul Hamus?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Dr. Campbell?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Ms. Downs?
Yes.
Very good. We're going to take 10 minutes, talk to audience members, and get ready for closed session.